our wonderful intro music playing there for us. Welcome to another episode of the Spincast Cycling Show. Official title. We've changed it. More specific, which is good. I'm Brian Kellison. We are without our marbles, Brian White, but we do have Lisa Vries from the Pacific Northwest. How you doing, Lee? We're going to wing it tonight. We're winging it tonight.
It is winging it tonight. We've lost our marble.
Yeah, that was good. I like that.
That was my dad joke for the night.
Super dad joke. We had a couple topics that we wanted to touch on. One was Zwift Games. I participated in it. We can touch on that. But how successful it's been. I mean, this is the second week. This is the Epic Championship. What was the other thing we want to talk about? Just a reaction, if anyone, and questions, because we didn't take any questions from anybody yesterday or last week, excuse me, when Josh was on. Probably could have taken some, but it's good to kind of just stay on the interview side, and then we can do a reaction. That's sort of like follow up with a reaction, and then we might touch in to the other platforms and what they offer and what what they can improve on, or what Zwift has, what they can do. It's sort of like kind of like it's like a redo of what we did at the beginning of this show. Kind of just like hey, what did RGT have, and MyWhoosh and Zwift, that sort of thing, is like a state of the cycling app sort of features, because a lot of features have been coming out. There's supposedly more coming in the future, and what things we like, what things we don't like. So what do you think? Is that good? You want to get into the Zwift Games?
Good. I think you ran into a few pain in the butt issues this week with features in games. And I know I'm a little embarrassed to say this, but I watched the women's Zwift Games race today.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
It was great.
And then the lady finished. And I was like, wait, there's more? That wasn't it?
Wait, what happened? I don't know.
Well, she won, but it was only race number 2. There's 3 races.
Oh, yes. Oh, you thought it was, yeah. There's 3 of the overall series. No.
It was the Epic. They called it like the Zwift Games Epic.
Yeah. I think the Epic is the Epic course, not the Epic.
Yes.
It's the Epic course. That's what it was to me.
So she won. Yeah. Amazing finish.
The current leader won. Yes.
Yes, the current leader won. And then they showed the stats. And they showed like race 1, and there was a column that said climb, and everyone had 0. And I said, oh, the climbers must have got dropped on that course, because it's way back in the field before anyone got points. Well, no, it's just they haven't done that race yet.
So you were confused.
Super confused.
So clarity is something they needed to work on.
Well, and then I was like, went to look into it and thought, you can't find the standings anywhere on the internet. Anywhere. Where's the standings?
No, I don't know where they are.
Please, people, tell me, where can I find the standings for the Zwift Games?
So as a competitor, I got the standings are not in my Zwift Power. They were emailed to me. I was annulled, by the way. If anyone didn't know, I've been annulled from the first Zwift Games placings because I didn't do my secondary power. Requirements for post-race was submit your secondary power, which was recorded. I recorded it on PowerLink to a Garmin Edge 1000, but I was so dejected from the race of getting dropped on like the first Zwift KOM that I was just like, I don't care about this. I was worrying about my, doing demolition on my house. I wasn't really prepared for it. It was neglect on my part, not any sort of anyone's fault or anything like that, but I didn't do it. And then I got an email later in the week, like on Thursday, and George Gilbert, I think his name is, right? He's the commissaire of verification and scoring for the Zwift Games. He sends me an email, says you've been annulled because you didn't submit your dual recordings in the 2-hour time span. it was totally neglect on our part. So I get it. I went from whatever 98th to 99th. Like I got second annulment because there was another annulment, and I went from whatever placing of I think I had 3 points, and now I have 0 points. But you're looking for the scoring and you can't find it. I can't find it. I don't know where they are. They're not even on Zwift Power.
Well, it's got to be somewhere. Like 99% of people would go to Google and just type in, Zwift games results.
Yeah.
It comes to, you can go to Zwift.com and it tells you all about the Zwift games, but there's no info.
So you're on Zwift Power right now. So if for the visual audience, go to riders and we'll do a search for like James Barnes, right? And you got a kitty cat in the way. So
cats.
Yeah, for the audio audience, we're navigating on Zwift Power. So if you go to riders and then he's going to do James Barnes. It's doing the searching, calculating.
You don't type fast enough.
No, yeah.
You can't. You have to wait. James Barnes. Here we go.
Yep. So you click on that. Let's see. He has his last results was 227 Zwift Racing League. Like there's no Zwift games in there.
There is the non-elite Zwift games. I did find if you just go to the
that's results. The non-elite.
But the elite ones, no.
So for our race, it was ZGP. So if you go to his dual analysis, like go back to James's, or you can go to my dual analysis. I actually redid, and you can do dual analysis. So he's searching again. This is for the audio only audience. He's searching again. He's going to find me. And then I haven't done my dual analysis for today. So I'm not in the results. So you go to analysis, you can see it, right? It's ZG24. So that's it right there. That's the first race. I haven't done the second one. We can do it right now on stream. No, we're not going to do it on stream. But I did send it because there's like a special Google form where you attach a file and send it to them. And I did that within 5 minutes of me completing the race on Saturday. So I did also have an issue with my heart rate monitor in the middle of the race. Now, here's a race recap. I was dropped on the lead-in going up the Epic KOM or the Zwift KOM. So I did the rest of the race by myself, right? The entirety by myself. So 30 kilometers in, I was having issues with my heart rate monitor. I've been having issues with Bluetooth connectivity for some reason. Something was Zwift. I don't know what it is. Everything connects perfectly fine in IndieVelo. And I haven't been on MyWhoosh in a while, but everything connect, like direct connect works, Bluetooth, heart rate monitor, and my dual power meter. So they have dual power that goes into IndieVelo. I'm having issues with Zwift. I don't know what's going on. I'm trying to diagnose it, trying to figure it out. But I was streaming the entire race from Saturday. I took my heart rate off, and I was like, okay, I'm just going to go to the other one. I put the old one back on, which was Ant Plus only, and then I had a Bluetooth bridge that bridges Ant Plus to Bluetooth to then get into Zwift. I proactively emailed, which was the George and IndieVelo and Zwift Games and everyone that's in the thing, like, hey, if you have any issues with whatever, because that's in the sort of the footnotes of the race, manual. And I said, hey, here's a video of me changing my heart rate in the race. And so they were appreciative. George emailed me back and he's like, hey, appreciate you proactively asking about that. We'll take that into consideration. Cause I sent the stream, like the part of where I'm like, man, this heart rate monitor is messing with me. Cause it was just like a straight line. It would never it wasn't doing it. It wasn't giving me accurate heart rate. And I was getting frustrated because I am trying not to use Ant Plus, but I'm using my Bluetooth heart rate monitor and it's not working, but it works on other platforms. Technically, whatever. That's the thing where it's like, this gets into the topic of not the actual racing, but all the hoops and stuff that people have to jump through to to compete in the thing that they want to compete in, right? And during my stream on Saturday, we had a discussion with some people in the community about participation. Now, I pose this question to you and to the audience. What is more of a reason to not participate in, say, Zwift games? Is it, well, this is a game that costs, it's free entry, but you have to do it's like sweat equity, right? You have to do a verification, you have to jump through all these hoops, but it doesn't cost you an entry fee. So there's no additional cost other than time and sweat, right? Do you think that's my question. I have two questions. One is, do you think that that's all the hurdles are hindering people from joining? And then is, what is it? A monetary entry fees hindering like Echelon Racing League from people to racing in some competitive races?
I think paying money to race is not as much of a hindrance as weigh-in videos, dual recording uploads. Oh, and that sort of leads, to another topic of Zwift is missing out if they don't get dual recording natively built in. It's a huge thing.
So why are they missing out then?
Or do they even need dual recording? I mean, is dual recording a thing? Why do we have dual recording? If
they require it for competitive stuff, I think that they need it. But yes. What would they be missing out? Because I don't know if that's the question you said.
But if they're going to host race series that require dual recording.
But you just need to have you don't need it in the game. They're requiring it, but they're not saying they need it in the game. I think it's a convenience for the riders to have dual recording in game, so you're not having to do what I did, which was I came in last place. Okay, look, folks, I came in last place, and I went from last to last, but my annulment is the thing that changed. So I think I got more recognition for being annulled in my results by just being mad at my, like, whatever. I don't care. I'm gonna go work on I'm gonna go pull demo trash and stuff out of my bathroom, then do my dual recording. I didn't neglect it because I knew about it. I didn't even know that I needed to do it within 2 hours. I was like, whatever, I don't care, because I've never been in a competition like this. That's like all the Zwift Grand Prix riders, they know to, like, hey, within 2 hours, you got to do your thing. The only time I ever had one that was time stamped was last year's Flanders Classics that I did with Lucas, and Zach Nair was there, and like a lot of the Tugels and a bunch of other guys that are like in the Zwift games. I was doing those on RGT, and Flanders Classics, who the people that put on the real Tour of Flanders, and they put on all like the Belgian classics and stuff. Their virtual race series, they wanted you to put your dual recording up within an hour. So you finish the race, and because the races were very short, they were like 13 kilometers. It was like just like the last climb, like it was like kind of flat, and it was just like the Paterberg or something like like that. So it was a short race, and they're like, hey, just upload this into this, and they had a little forum that where you would like input the file, kind of like a Google form. I can't remember exactly what it was, but that was the only other time where I personally did a timestamp thing. Well, now with the Zwift Grand Prix people, they're like, oh yeah, this is second nature. That's what Josh was saying last year. It was like, hey, the pro riders like the Thom Thralls and the other people in highly competitive race series, they don't balk at all the hurdles they're going to jump through. I'm not complaining about the hurdles they got to jump through. I'm just saying that like you're saying, and I agree with you, that the hurdles limit people's willingness to participate in something.
Well, I think like is what a few of the chatters have been saying, there's a hope that there's a chance. And I think what happens is you have a level of, I'm going to do this, and it's at level 80 of 100. Like you can kind of be like, maybe I'm not going to do it. Maybe I'm going to do it. Adding in a weigh-in video drops at 10. Now you're at a 70 of 100 going, well, yeah. And then all of a sudden, now there's dual recording, and now you're at 50-50, and you're like, I could take it or leave it.
I was so not into racing that is first Zwift games because I was so mentally preparing to race outside. It was our first team, my outdoor team. It was our first focus race, and it's like 15 minutes from my house, the race where the race is. It got rained out. And so I just last minute was like, well, I've already signed up for this. I'll just do this Zwift games thing. And I was just like, I don't care. I was so not into it because I hadn't ridden like all week. I was working on the bathroom doing demolition. So I was like super sore. I know you're doing a lot of physical fitness off the bike and you're having soreness. That's the kind of soreness I could barely lift my hands. My hands were like swollen for all the work of like smashing drywall and tile and all these other things. I wasn't really into it. So that's why, like, not even being mentally on for like doing the competition, but I mentally checked out after. I was like, I came in last. Well, do you need my data? It should be there. Oh, no. You need to do the secondary power, which is recorded to a secondary device, which I understand that those are the hoops we got to jump through. But I know we need it for this race, but is it like, it should be, I felt that it should have been like nationals where it's like podium and maybe a random person. You pull it, you're like, hey, you got to do it. But if it's like, hey, oh, here, when I did it on Saturday, it's really easy to do. It's like you fill out your name, you fill out your Zwift, use your Zwift number, and then you just attach your fit file. Super easy to do. It's way easier than the Zwift Power. So what IndieVelo / George Gilbert and Bjorn and all the people that are doing the verification for the Zwift games, it's really simple. The one caveat to that, to make it even more simple, would be if they knew your email was attached to your Zwift number, because like sometimes you forget your Zwift number, but now I know it more and more. So other than that, it's pretty easy. You just got to do it within the 2 hours.
I guess that is the thing, is in regular old Zwift, you don't need dual recording.
No.
It's for these a few events a few times a year. And I mean, honestly, too, with all of the new trainers auto calibrating and being direct connected to your network, do you even need dual recording?
Yeah, I don't. That's the thing, is like my first initial, I'm with you. My first initial thought though was, the Zwift needs dual recording. Like, why are they bugging me with an email to tell me I'm annulled? Like it should already know that I have two things, but a lot of people don't have two things. And so having it in game, but what's the benefit of having two power sources versus two recording devices? Is that a limitation of Zwift and that's why they have it? Or are we going to see dual recording in Zwift?
I think the time has passed for that. I think maybe like 2 years ago, yes. I was going to say too, I should be drinking beer every time you say annulled. I've heard that word more times in the past like 2 days in the last 10 years.
Yeah. Well, we talked a little bit about it. We talked a little bit about it when we were touching on the MyWhoosh annulment for the 3 riders. I think it was the 3 riders that went to Abu Dhabi and did the in-person. Remember were you here? Yeah, you were here for that. We talked about that.
Yes,
but
we did.
We say annulment even more because I got annulled. Take another drink. No. So this sort of like goes into,
I think it's almost more on trainer manufacturers now. All the top trainers are all 1% plus or minus.
I think trainer accuracy isn't the reason why there's dual recordings.
Well, it's not necessarily. It's people messing with their trainers is why there's dual recording, but trainers are getting harder and harder to mess with. I mean, if you're direct connect with your Wahoo, they can see exactly what's going on with your trainer in real time in the back end of Zwift.
Yeah.
So, and every time I coast, even if it's for 3 seconds, the trainer is auto calibrating.
But you don't ever get to coast for 3 seconds in Zwift. You're always pedaling.
Yeah.
You're always pedaling. At least I am.
Well, you always have to soft pedal, otherwise you fall off the back.
Right, yeah. Yeah. So the heart rate, then that brings up a point for like my heart rate monitor. There was I believe an IndieVelo test, like an internal test. I was watching, what was it? Dean, I give credit where credit's due. Dean Cunningham, who is a member of Restart. he was I think he put together a race with a bunch of competitors to do a sort of like live data verification where they can just see something, and somebody's heart rate failed and they just got booted right out of the game. Oh, and that brings up the Zwift games getting booted out of. So there was a little hiccup because I after I finished, or I was still doing my ride, I was people were coming into my show, and Barney was one of those people, and he had finished, and he said that the current leader, Kaminsky, who was in the leader's gold jersey, he was going up the climb where Freyet was kind of bridging over to Tugels, and he like disappeared. So like with like under a K to go, like 900 meters to go, he like poof and disappeared. And you go back and you can watch, if you want to go and find the, I know this would be great for the video, for the audio audience, but if you could go to the Zwift games from Saturday, the men's final, right? You can see him kind of poof disappear from the rider list, and then also the visual, right? So I don't know if you can do it, if you want to do a search real time on here, but that's like a mechanical. From what James Barnes, everyone, from what he was saying is he was not, once you are booted from the event, you are not allowed to get back in. So he got no finishing points. So he went from number 1 to not getting any finish points in the Epic, which is wrong. And then Holden Camo, he broke his crank in one of the sprints. And so he just, because I remember I was way behind. I was like 15 minutes behind everybody. And he broke his crank, and then he went to zero watts, but he was still in the event for a long time. And then I don't know if he either dropped or something, but I mean, you could get a bike swap and you can fix a flat tire. You should be able to finish the race to get at least finishing points, or like, hey, I'm going to get some points.
I retightened my cassette in a ZRL race and didn't end up last.
You got off the bike and retightened your cassette?
To have it on stream. Got off the bike, took my bike off the trainer, took the cassette off, put it back on, retightened it, put my bike on the trainer, and kept going, and was not last. Holden, though, he was probably procrastinating, probably had Shimano cranks, and he was going to take them back on Monday.
Right. So, I mean, that's a tough one. So it's like I was talking about the IndieVelo event, the guy who lost his heart rate monitor. You should be able to go, like, if I have because I had a secondary monitor, I braked and I stopped, and then I did a physical switch on camera. But if you're not on camera, you can't really like, oh, I switched my heart rate monitor. But you're going to see any manipulation real time, or within the fit file, you'll see the the heart rate ID number change, right? But I proactively said, hey, I changed my thing. If you're not telling them, hey, I had this issue or I had this issue, they're not going to know. Then they have to do some digging deeper, and then they'll probably reach out to you and say, hey, we had this weird anomaly, blah, blah, blah. But hey, something I think James Barnes said that the Kaminsky, his Zwift crashed. And so you should be able to reboot and get back in and finish the ride. Like, he would have got more points than I got.
Well, and if he got back in the ride, he would be 5 minutes behind everybody.
Yeah.
And then, if he made up that 5 minute gap, then something fishy's happened.
Right. Right.
But yeah, you should at least be able to have a chance to log in, have the commissionaire IndieVelo look at his data, go, okay, he got back in, nothing's fishy, he's fine.
Yeah.
He's last, get some points.
Yeah, and then you say, hey, I need your log file to know what happened or whatever. Yeah, all these are all post things, but like not being able to get back in to finish the race, I think needs to be solved. Because you should be able to rejoin an event. Like RGT, I had crashes during races, and I just called it like a virtual flat tire. And I remember doing this one where I was on the climb, like I was in the lead, and all of a sudden, poof, I was like 5 minutes behind, or 500 meters behind, and I couldn't catch up. But I could re-enter the race, and it got me right back in as soon as it loaded up.
Well, I think the problem with that was because back in the day, your trainer disconnecting and you disconnecting from the game meant funny business. Right. You were calibrating your trainer right then and there. And that's actually how they found Eddie Houle, because he was in the start pen. His trainer disconnected and reconnected. And when they looked at his files after the race, that's what they noticed, that there was a disconnect. He didn't disconnect from the game, but his actual trainer disconnected and came back.
Okay, so then that's a reason for dual recording, right? If you had a trainer and a power meter or cranks or pedals or something, so that you had, if one disconnected, okay, and you maintained connection with the other one, and the power's like my power profile here that you have up on the screen for the visual audience, you have a proper power profile. There's a little bit, plus or minus here and there, but like if you have giving you enough time, like if you're holding power, right? Well, if you're in the pin, yeah, these are a bunch of stuff, man. Like there's ways you can like, oh, I'm in the pin, I'm not pedaling, I'm not warming up. Disconnect both, mess with both, and then reconnect them, right? But you can't really, I don't know how you can manipulate pedals. I bet you could. It would take a lot, man. But one of the things too is in the race. See, I did read some of the race manual for the Zwift games. It was like, hey, you need to connect to the Discord. Like everyone needed to connect to the Discord. From what I understand, everyone needed to connect. No, not to the Discord. Excuse me, to the Zoom link, and so that if they wanted to cut to you, they could cut to you, so you could see. Everyone had to have a camera on them while they were doing the event, but not everyone made the broadcast. Right? I think that's what I got to look it up. I could look it up, but
I do like how your 1 minute power tracks in your dual recording. That's pretty bang on.
Oh yeah, 1 minute to 2 minutes, they're pretty. And that was like,
actually, in general, your whole dual recording is pretty close.
Yeah, no, it's been closer before. I actually had my previous dual link power. Oh no, my previous power pedals, because I had a little warranty issue and they gave me new ones, and my Kicker V6, those were like spot on. Like they were like, it looked like, no, these are the same vid file. No, they weren't. They were seriously like the same thing. But these are the 1 minute file and the 1 minute and the 5 minute. Yeah, even the 10 minute. I mean, they're spot on. It's the Wahoo and Wahoo, the Wahoo Speed Play. And I do a big, I label it a lot. Like I know what's this is how I label it for the visual audience, or for the audio audience. This is how I label my dual recordings for Zwift Power. I do the recording device, which is Zwift. Then I do then I label out the maker and the model, and then I put in parentheses. That's the primary one. That's the one that's going to Zwift. Well, obviously it's on Zwift at the beginning. And then I do Garmin. It's recording to the Garmin device. It's the make and model, and then it's the secondary, which a lot of people don't do, and so you can't. I mean,
the problem is everyone should do, because when you go back 8 months later to look, you're like, oh, this is what I did.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is like it's funny to me that I was annulled. I wasn't annulled because I was being deceptive or anything like that. I annulled because I just lost interest. I did. You're not drinking. You're Slurpee, like I'm drinking.
My bubbly water here. Annulled.
Yeah. All right. Do we want to talk about any questions about this from the audience? I mean, this is a good questions episode, because if not, then we can go into Josh Peacock's reaction. And there was something that Josh was awesome, by the way. Thanks for booking him, Lee. But the big thing that I remember taking away, which I talked about on Saturday, was because we brought this up. I was talking to some people in my audience about, more people racing in games like this or in events like this, right? And having maybe cosmetics for the casual race, which is what's going on right now, the Zwift Games casual side, to have not monetary, but having a gold, what is it? Concept One, is that what it's officially called? Which is the Tron bike. Having some sort of cosmetic thing as an incentive for people to do the event. I don't think that's hindering casual racing. What I think is hindering competitive racing is what Josh brought up last week is, this relates to somewhat of what Josh talked about. It's about entry fees and having sponsors pay for prizing. So that was sort of it was like two things, right? So like, who was it? It was Bike Beast. And I can't remember his real first name, but check him out. He's on Twitch.
I think it's Bike.
Is it just Bike? Bike? Yeah. Okay, got it. He was saying that sponsors should do it. And I'm like, okay, well, what's your reasoning? Why should sponsors be paying for, should pay for prize money? And I was thinking that entry fees would help offset some stuff so that the prize pool could increase even more, right? Because he was saying like advertising is the reason why. And my counter argument was, like I said, that could go into the prize pool, but also what Josh was saying, this is how it sort of relates to what Josh was saying, is the majority of his budget, didn't he say like 100% of his budget went to paying for verification?
It was like 95% verification and 5% mailing jerseys.
Yeah. So like 5% prizing and the rest to make sure people are on the up and up.
Well, and that was my thought about the Esport license, because you don't need insurance for Esport like you would for a normal provincial membership. So if you're throwing in $20 and he can get 100 people buying a $20 Esport license, 100% of that would go to his budget or increasing his budget for prizing, verification, that kind of stuff.
And his point was, I agree with you. And I was thinking about it. It's like USA Cycling should offer that, but it's also a path to full membership. It's like you can apply this, like, hey, you're an online only, and then when it comes to like, hey, are you interested in racing outside or doing like something that's a Cycling Canada or USA Cycling event, this is a path you can put this credit towards your full license.
Yeah. They used to do that here for cyclocross racing. A lot of people wouldn't get a full membership, and then the cyclocross season would roll around and they would say, oh no, you need a full race license, but you'd already paid $60 for the general ride license, and you were allowed to pay an extra $30 to top up your, to the full race license.
Yeah. So I think that was big from Josh's perspective to know that. Was like, hey, a lot of the budget went to make sure verification's good.
It was a huge amount. I mean, I had to buy a Cycling BC provincial membership. It was $95 to participate in nationals. Yeah. I don't need that license for any more events for 2024.
Yeah, that's not valuable. It's not.
No, so with entry fee and my license, I spent $110 to race nationals because I want to see the sport grow. But I know probably 20 other people that would have raced if it was $20, not 94.
Yeah. I think the sport needs that. I think it needs if you need to help offset the underlying costs, so entry fee and a license. I think the license goes with not the insurance and stuff, but it's sort of like validity of the rewards or the rewards that go into it.
It's saying you're like, hey, I am a licensed esport racer.
Yeah.
Like join the club. And oh, you have a license? I have a license.
Yeah.
All the cool people are getting licenses.
Yeah. All right.
But the license needs to cover all of them, because I could see being a problem where it'd be like, oh, did you get your MyWhoosh Esport license? Did you get your Zwift Esport?
No, I think if you, right, if you have a, what is it? If you have a your governing body's license, you do get at least in the United States, you get like a UCI license. You get a UCI number as well. License.
Well, maybe you can get a little like check mark beside your name in Zwift.
That would go over. That would go over well.
People would pay the $20 just to get a damn check mark.
I think there's more people that have the verification that I don't know than people I know that should have it that don't have it that I know. Like there's some in the race that I'm like, I've never heard of this person. Like, why do they have a verified number? Why do they have verified? You know, it's like, am I not in the know? I'm not, obviously. Because I don't know this person.
I feel like I've watched a lot of ZRL racing. I've watched a lot of high-end Zwift racing, nationals for 3 years. And even watching today, I was like, I knew 4 names.
Yeah, we're not telling the stories strongly, in my opinion. I do think the broadcast was really well done. And we did.
Yes.
It was
a lot of info.
It's ZMS Esports, right? That's the broadcaster.
Well, actually, it was being broadcast.
The production team. Yeah. Which we could probably get Damon on. I think we talked about this offline.
It'd be really cool to hear about behind the scenes, because he was on stream today. He had like a camera showing all his setup.
Yeah,
he has a ton of monitors and computers. Yeah. And, you know, it was cool because he was answering questions because he wasn't actually doing the broadcast. He was recording the broadcast.
Switching, yeah.
So it was neat to hear, you know, from his side of things.
Yeah, that's cool. Do you have anything from Josh's? I can't remember some of the stuff. Was there anything that you?
Not really. I think in general is, you know, it's really good to hear from that side of it.
Yeah.
You know, and of all the people, I am a huge complainer. Like, I have sent Josh so many emails and so many Discord messages in the past complaining about decisions they had made, only to retract my rant after I realized that the decision they made was the correct one. But at the same time, it's awesome that they are Cycling Canada is so open to that. Yeah. You know, he's answering Discord DMs.
Yeah. I think
in like a timely fashion too. Like, not like I waited 4 days. It was like 20 minutes after I messaged him, he's like, "Hey, thanks, blah 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 blah," and answering.
Yeah. I think my biggest takeaway after letting it sit in my head for like a week was that their long-term goal was before the pandemic.
Yes.
It was like, hey, we're thinking about this long term. And it wasn't like a reaction to the, hey, everyone's locked down and we're kind of stuck with this. This is like, hey, we want to embrace this for the future, which gives me hope that there's more of this coming. And I hope it brought a lot of, I think, like I said this to Josh when we were talking to him, that they set the bar and it brought USA Cycling's bar up, which was good, like on the pricing and stuff, you know? Like, hey, because the first year, no jerseys. I don't even think the elites got jerseys. I don't think the elites got medals, which was kind of a bummer. I got a virtual kit, like as a master's. I got a virtual kit in RGT. And so I was like, oh, that's cool. I get to do that and use that. And then the second year, it was like, hey, Canada did this. And so it was that sort of like, hey, we're going to do this and we're going to raise the bar for others. And that's where I think Zwift Games is, even going back to Zwift Games is like, hey, we're doing $1,000 preem. We're doing big prize money, right? and we don't have the world championships anymore. So maybe this is going to be, bigger. And they have 3 sponsors. What were the 3 sponsors? It was Adidas, Wahoo, and Oakley, which was cool. So shout out to that,
Well, I think it's like Zwift saying, well, we lost worlds, but we'll show them that we can put on a better show.
But I don't even know if do you think that they did this in a reaction to losing worlds?
Not at all.
You think they had this was planned? I think this was
totally planned. No, 100% it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think with Cycling Canada, like what Josh said, is if it's going to be on the roster of events for Cycling Canada, it is a legitimate event and needed to be treated as a legitimate event, which was medals, jerseys.
Yeah.
I mean, your name is in the results forever.
Yeah.
And they did it right from the get-go because they treated it like a real event, not like, oh, you're just some guys racing in your garage.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like this is an actual sport.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just thinking how cool it is to see that from Cycling Canada as an American, from an outsider. Like I can't participate. I have to be a viewer, right?
Well, they were putting on races. Cycling BC did a 3-race series before the pandemic on Ruby.
Oh, no way.
That was very well done. They actually had custom video for the race that was put into Ruby.
I've considered doing Ruby again.
Ruby was pretty good. I think out of all the ones with real life video, I found it did the best at pacing of the speed. I found a lot of like full gas was, user entered video. And when you're riding up the Alp, the last thing that you want to watch is the video of it weaving. Yeah. Like the guy is weaving and you're like, this is making me nauseous.
But so I know there were events on Ruby. I just didn't do them. There was like Vuelta. They had Vuelta stuff. Be Cool is also another one that my buddy hit me up. And he's like, hey, do you know about Be Cool? Because I think a lot of pros are either getting paid to do it, but a lot of pros are using Be Cool. I don't know if Be Cool is actually improving or has done anything new, but that gets us into our third topic. I mean, if there's anything more about Josh, I probably will have more stuff when I
well, I'm sure we're going to have him on again in the future.
Yeah, we'll have him on again. It'd be nice to get somebody from a different governing body too and get their perspective. But that goes into like the IndieVelo and MyWhoosh, who now are sort of like stepping up with new features, competitive features, to sort of like knock Zwift off the pedestal.
With some of MyWhoosh's new features, when are you gonna stop riding MyWhoosh? Because it's all the features that you don't want. Levels.
Yeah, I mean, I don't look. Here's the thing about MyWhoosh that sort of is intriguing for me is that it's a challenger, right? So it's like, hey, they're doing Zwift. So it looks better than Zwift. Cosmetically, it looks better than Zwift. But they don't have all the bells and whistles as Zwift. And it's free. So it's like, oh, people are concerned about budget, right? So like they just sort of like forget that they pay $15 a month for Zwift and they're getting Zwift, right? And people are content with that. But if you're getting something that is, if it could take advantage of your computer more, I was talking about this with who was it, Felty this morning. Zwift is only one GPU thread. Like it only uses one thread, from what I understand. So like you can have a really good CPU. No, not GPU thread, CPU thread. Yeah. Excuse me.
It's a single core.
Single core, and it's like at most PCs or most CPUs are multi-threaded, right? And it's like, why?
Intel Duo was like 2001.
Yeah, but why is it defaulting to single thread for, higher processing CPUs?
Well, we all know why. They're programming.
Well, it's the programming, but why can't it? Yeah, that's a feature that I want. Not only do I want better physics in the game, I want better underlying programming to take advantage of one's hardware. Right?
Yeah. Made for Apple TV.
Yeah, it's made for Apple TV, but if you're not on Apple TV, why is it defaulting to the lower Apple TV? Right? Like, does it, if you have the newer Apple TV and it supports the older Apple TV, does the newer Apple TV run better?
No. The newest Apple TV is pretty much the same. I had really high hopes that the newest Apple TV would run a better graphics processor, and apparently it actually in some situations does worse than the old Apple TV.
For Zwift, you're talking about?
Yeah, for Zwift. Oh yeah, in general, like, but I mean, I finally got MyWhoosh to work though. That's good.
I just thought of this, and I've thought of this a long time ago. Why isn't Zwift on PlayStation or Xbox or Switch?
That's a good question, because actually Zwift would be perfect on the PlayStation because you have Bluetooth.
Yeah.
Bluetooth built into it. It's got actually does the new, I have a PlayStation 3 and it has USB ports. So I could put an Ant.
No, yeah. PlayStation 4 has a PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 have USB ports.
Yeah. So you could plug in your
receiver. It's how you charge your controllers, man.
Yeah. So you could put Ant Plus in there, no problem.
Wait a minute. You have a PlayStation 3, but you don't have a PlayStation 4?
No, we stopped at PlayStation 3. We have a house full of non-gamers. I got a PlayStation 3 for my 30th birthday as a birthday present, and we've had that ever since.
That's like 2007.
Yeah.
2008.
Old.
Yeah.
It's a 15-year-old, almost 16-year-old PlayStation.
I have a PlayStation 3 right there, and then I have a PlayStation 4 right there. There we go. But I was thinking about this. It's like, why aren't they not on like a home console? Right?
I could only imagine with their base software trying to port it to other devices would be a nightmare.
But it runs on PC. PlayStation 4 is essentially authoring on PC, and then Xbox can be on PC.
Like a Windows 11 emulator on your PlayStation just to run Zwift.
I don't know. Maybe
that's a good question.
Have they even thought of that? Have they ever? I mean, I thought of it. I thought of it when I think I thought of it when I worked at PlayStation. I was like, why isn't this on like a console?
Well, because you can play it on your Android phone. Why not on like a Stream Deck or something like that, or Steam Deck?
And it's not on Shield. It's not on, like, they don't have an Android Google Play. I'd love to run it on a Shield, NVIDIA Shield. I have 2 of those. But that's the thing, is like, we're trying to support, or at least not we as in us programming it, but the community or the industry. Oh, that was another thing that Josh said, is community was a big thing that they focused on, which was cool. But the features that are like, hey, we're supporting Android phones or Android tablets and iOS tablets and iPads or whatever. For MyWhoosh and IndieVelo, those are good. And those 2 devices, or those 2 programs, have dual recording, and IndieVelo has things that you can't do in Zwift, which is a positive, like creating your own event, doing your own race. What's another thing you can do? That's like big in a sense.
It's the time change, man.
It is the time change. I'm losing my train of thought here. This show's
lost your
going.
marbles. Where's Marble when we need him?
Oh, speaking of that, Marble. He's done so much in IndieVelo, but he's like he's done, what is it? Who was saying this? Felty was saying that he's always talking about how many kilometers he's done in IndieVelo. We're gonna have him next week, because he's doing a lot of science stuff in Zwift. He should do science stuff in IndieVelo now. But let's take the covers off of IndieVelo and deep dive into IndieVelo and get that going.
Well, I think with IndieVelo with dual recording and MyWhoosh with dual recording, I think the future of verification is going to be such that dual recording is not going to be needed. People's trainers are going to be like, they're already connected to the network. They can tell on the back end if there's funny business going on. They can tell if they're calibrated correctly. You are just going to be able to sign up for a race, and it's going to be like, trainer, yep, ding, and you go on and race. I think all of these hurdles and hoops and checks and balances were put in place to try to stop cheating, but the trainer, has been moved forward enough that is going to be minimized completely. National bodies might require it because it might be a national body thing, but in general, like, I can go into Zwift, my V5, like I said, auto calibrates. Zwift knows everything that's going on with my trainer in the back end. Why do I need to have a dual recording to verify my trainer is accurate? Wahoo says it's accurate.
So okay, so then how do you handle like a disconnect?
Well, that's what's going to have to happen, is because that is, as it is now, disconnect means you're out of there. So they're going to have to set something up where, yes, you can come back if you're disconnected, but like same thing, your trainer disconnects, it reconnects to the system, and it's transparent on what it's doing. But at the same time, if you come back and start all of a sudden going drastically faster than you were, well, they're going to have to look into that.
Oh, how about this? You disconnect. So if it can tell you that you've disconnected, you have to stop pedaling and wait to reconnect, or do your thing to reconnect. And then once it gives you a reconnection prompt, like you're essentially, so this is how I visualize it, is your avatar goes to the side of the road and like just sticks up its hand or holds up like a wheel, like you're waiting for a wheel change.
Yeah.
And then you so on your end, like in a broadcast, you're on the side of the road, like, hey, a mechanical happened. And instead of poof, you just disappear. You just slowly fall back out of the thing and move to the right, this is a lot of programming we're asking. But the rider, it's like, I'm seeing my screen. It tells you disconnect. You are no longer in the race. And it kind of tells you, or your rider moves to the right. Remember in RGT, it would slide you to the right. Like it would slowly float you to the right, where it's like, hey, you're disconnected. Like virtual flat or virtual mechanical, you have so much time to reconnect, to figure out how to reconnect, right? Or it starts a clock of, you've been disconnected for this long, and so you're going, oh, I have to figure this out. Boom, 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 whatever. And then it tells you, do not pedal, right? Or do not pedal, because like some people like keep pedaling and then they just like pop back in and they're with the group, or they're ahead, or they're just chasing, where like you need to like come back on your own. I think that would be a way for it to replicate, or I'm thinking more simulation, where it's like, hey, you need to like physically come to a stop to fix your tire because your trainer disconnected, but that's just a virtual mechanical. And then it forces the rider to go, hey, if you're messing with things, you can't just disconnect, keep pedaling, and then reconnect, and all of a sudden your power is like, you go from like nothing to like 500 watts. It's like, no, you got to start from zero again and slowly build up, and then you're on the you're like, it's essentially getting that push from your mechanic, and you're like, oh yeah, I'm rolling again, and then it goes, oh okay, cool, kind of like the auto pedaling, like you get into the pace partner things. And it's like, okay, this is your opportunity to kind of like let us know that you're good to go. You're pedaling. And then we're like, okay, you've reconnected. Officially, you've reconnected. Otherwise, it's like you've abandoned the race. Something like that.
I'm actually surprised this hasn't happened more often in big races where more people aren't disconnecting. Because if you go on the forums, it seems like there's people disconnecting all over the place. But there definitely should be some sort of protocol, because especially in a 3-race series like the Zwift games, you disconnect and they're like, well, there you go, you're done.
Yeah, poof, you can't come back. And that's the thing, is like Kaminsky loses points, and he was like under 900 meters. It's like, dude, you can get a flat like right there and then still roll across the line and maybe beat the chase group or do something. It's just like poof, he's gone. He goes from 100 points from winning the first one to nothing. Now the third race is like not even, he's nowhere near anything on the third race. So
does he even race it?
I don't know. He's probably like me, coming in, last. It's like, I'd rather get annulled. Another drink. All right.
Are you drinking a Slurpee?
I am.
Oh my goodness.
It's actually, I didn't think there was a new flavor, and it wasn't spicy enough. It's mango salsa. Spicy mango, not mango salsa. Spicy mango, which is very Southern California or California, right? We're going off the rails here. You ready, folks? Everyone in the audio only or in the chat, type in Tajin, Tajin. So type in Tajin. It's like a Mexican seasoning you put on fruit and stuff. Well, there's a mango flavor, and then you put this little spicy stuff. So it's got a little. It's not hot, but it's like a spicy, like pepper flake-y sort of thing with like crystallized lime, some other stuff. So it's citrus. So it's like that tartness with the sweetness, and it's a pretty good flavor. So, all right, we done with this? We got any more? Who's here? Nobody's here. Time change. It's good. Take a breath. No, I think there was one thing that was, I can't remember what it was. Oh, it was my, I want to get an update on the cramping. So I did the race yesterday, and I rode it all by myself. I'm having a different area of cramping. So I think I'm working on trying to solve where the cramping will occur and when it will occur. So it's not sodium. It's not anything else. It's fatigue. I know you've said that. It's not any of that. Pickle juice too. Or chili mango Slurpee. All right, let's play the music. We ready to get out of here? I'm done.
Pretty much.
I'm done. Any questions? Anybody? There's no questions from the audience? No reactions? No nothing?
Everyone's time changed out.
Every time changed out. All right. It's time to get out of here.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Play the music.